interesting discussion with someone on Facebook quite recently. Can't remember all the details, but it was based around a comment that I made. I don't even remember what that was because his comment seemed completely detached from it. Completely. It was like, comments like yours are what make people doubt. It's what sows the seeds of doubt. That's what he said. Even in those who are already saved. I genuinely had no idea what he was referring to. He said it was because my comment contained the word but, which isn't actually a valid argument, in my opinion, because that is just the term but is simply to, I'm not entirely sure what the word would be called, but it's almost like a conjecture. It's essentially telling you that what you're about to say is in opposition or contrast to what you've already said. God can be juxtaposed like that. He's both a loving and caring God, but he can also be vengeful and strike people down with great force. He's both visible throughout the universe and yet invisible. How is that so? The fact that there is a universe in the first place is often a very good sign that God exists. Just because you can't see it doesn't necessarily mean he's not in it. I don't remember if I saw this in relation to something Christian, in relation to something on a forum, or just on the radio, or even just something else entirely. But it's... No, I've used the word but. How can I put it? I heard it said the wind is a similar thing. You can't see it, but you know it's there. You can't hear the wind, but you can hear how it interacts with the world. You can't necessarily feel it, but you can feel it acting on you. Those of you that grew up reading Teddy Halsey know the feeling. Know exactly what I'm talking about. Because there's definitely a Teddy Halsey book that mentions the Holy Spirit acting in just such a way. You can't hear it, but you can hear it making people sing. You can't see it, but you can see it affecting people in a joyful manner. One argument I came up with quite a while ago, I don't know if it's just easy yet, is when looking for God, sometimes looking in the places you don't expect is actually the place where you find God. But sometimes the fact that he remains hidden is sort of the point. For example, I would often tell people, you can't see God. It's something actually really cool. Look up there in the corner. Can you see a chameleon? Chameleons, as pretty much everyone knows, change colour. As a friend of mine pointed out, that's not out of attempt to remain camouflaged. It's simply because they use it to display colour, to display dominance, display emotions, all that sort of thing. It's far more expressive than just a means to hide. But to push another point, I point off into a bush and say, can you see a leopard? The mate I was discussing this with at the same time understood what I was talking about, because we both worked together on various projects, including our living history stuff. And since a lot of the activities involved hunting, keeping an eye out for predators was often part of it. The fact that you can't see a leopard definitely doesn't mean it's not there. In fact, the moment you see a leopard, you're actually safer than when you didn't see the leopard. Because if you see a leopard, you can let it know you can see it, and it will leave you alone after that, because leopards are ambush predators. I've got to remember where the discussion went with that particular person on Facebook. It's been a few days and I hardly get any warning about when I have a day off and can go down to the forge, down to the archery range and do one of these videos. I don't think we got the idea of how my comment, which can't remember now, would make people doubt. I mean, we're humans, we're not perfect, we will doubt. But I did tell him that, well, I remember now, he did say that people will start doubting whether they were saved or not. And I told him that I don't focus on what happens at the end of life. Because if we do, then essentially the goals we try to achieve that will get us to heaven will supersede what the actual acts mean. The ends justify the means, they say. No, not in this case. What is our end? Is it to get to heaven, or is it to improve the world? Because if we understand that, then we start to understand the moral genius that is God. Yes, people like thermine trees, tend to say that the dichotomy of heaven and hell, the strict binary of their nature, and the solid line that is drawn between who goes to heaven and who goes to hell, does seem simplistic. But when you bear in mind the very methods that we're using to communicate, the very computers that we use to share this information, the very phone I'm using to film this, is based on a binary system of ones and zeros. It's literally ons and offs. And yet, together, they make a complex series of commands that we can barely understand. And computers can do advanced calculations that we can never understand. And we can think in more dimensions than just on or off. There is, you could say, the line drawn in a very delicate manner. It's not whether one person's more evil or one person is more good. Those are just the two baselines that we go by. You could say it's more what one person wants to achieve versus what they have achieved. They want to go to heaven, but in doing so, they've left so many people unsaved. They've discarded so many people from the church. They focus too much on themselves and not enough on the people around them. As I said in my last video about being holier than thou, I don't pretend to know who's going to heaven or who's going to hell. I honestly don't know. You can get a general idea. But really, it's not for me to say. And even if it was, I can't decide. I don't know everything. Just take an example. My great friend, who I do archery with, who visits me occasionally in the forge. He's Christian. He's great at giving advice, and he's even better at guiding me through the world. However, he's currently on his fourth wife. He's divorced more than a couple of those wives, so he could be with another one. There's several children running around that don't know him and quite frankly don't want to know him anymore. And sometimes he can be a right bastard. He's got a kind heart, but his loins have been in the wrong place, you could say. Does any of that give you an indication of where he's going to go at the end of the days? No. His personality, his kindness, the fact he's giving back to the world and making a family rather than a business out of the archery, compared to what he did in his younger years, that doesn't help us at all. So don't think you know everything. Don't think you can judge people, because judgment is God's purview, not ours. Stay safe, and happy Sunday to you.